My name is Hannah, and the night my mother raised her glass and told the whole family she was ashamed of me, I realized something. She had no idea I'd been waiting for that moment. Not to fall apart, but to finally calmly end the game she'd been playing with my life since I was 8 years old. Before we continue, please subscribe to the channel and tell us where you're listening from. I used to worship her. Back then, she was Margaret Cole, the woman everyone at church called saintly, the mother other kids said they wished they had. When I was 8, I drew her in crayon, big smile, yellow hair, little crown over her head, and I wrote, "My hero, Mom." She hung it on the fridge that night, right next to Ethan's soccer medals and Lily's ballet photo. I went to sleep feeling like I finally belonged on that door. By morning, my drawing was gone. "It was crooked," she said, not even looking at me as she tossed it into the trash. "Next time, do it properly." That was my first lesson. Love was conditional, and I was always a little crooked. Ethan was the golden boy. If he breathed near a ball, Margaret acted like he'd won the World Cup. Lily did one twirl in the living room and suddenly she was destined for the Royal Ballet. Me? I was too sensitive, too stubborn, too quiet, depending on what Margaret needed me to be wrong about that day. She called it tough love. I called it training, teaching me to doubt every good thing about myself. When I got a scholarship, she didn't say, "I'm proud of you." She said, "You're lucky. Don't waste it." When I sent her a photo of my first apartment key, she replied, "Don't get ahead of yourself. Rent isn't an achievement." And when my startup failed, she finally looked satisfied. "I told you this would happen," she said, like she'd been waiting to cash that line in for years. The real crack, though, came later. I was in the hallway at Aunt Ruth's house, looking for my phone charger when I heard my name. I froze by the door. "She embarrasses us," Margaret whispered. "She thinks she's better than everyone, but look at her. Alone, bitter, a failure." They laughed. My own mother and my aunt, laughing at the version of me she'd rewritten for them. That night I didn't cry. I opened a new note on my phone and typed one sentence. "Next time she tries to humiliate me, do not stay silent." It wasn't rage that settled in my chest. It was focus. From that moment, I started watching her like an investigator instead of a daughter, collecting the tiny cracks in her perfect act and filing them away for when I'd need them most. By the time Christmas came around, I wasn't angry anymore. I was prepared. That's a different kind of power, quiet, controlled, deliberate. I could almost feel it buzzing beneath my skin as I pulled up to my mother's house, intentionally 20 minutes late. Margaret hated lateness. She said it was the behavior of unreliable people, which was her polite way of saying me. The family group chat had lit up all week. Pictures of decorations Ethan's wife hung, Lily's engagement ring updates, Margaret's constant reminders about proper attire for dinner. I sent only one message. "I'll be there." When I walked in, everyone was already seated. Margaret gave me the kind of smile she reserved for public settings, tight, bright, hiding teeth she only showed when she was furious. "You look tired, Hannah," she said, voice dipped in that fake sympathy that always meant you look awful. I set my coat down, took my seat, and smiled calmly. "It's been a productive year," I said. That bothered her. I could see it in the way her eyelid twitched, tiny but telling. My confidence threw off the script she'd prepared. Dinner went how it always did. Wine poured. Candles flickered. Margaret held court like a queen issuing decrees. Ethan's promotion, Lily's wedding planning, even Aunt Ruth's new patio set. Each detail polished for presentation. Then her tone shifted. I felt it like a temperature drop. "And you," she said, turning toward me with a sweetness that was sharp as a blade. "Still chasing those little projects?" Snickers around the table. Predictable. Exhausting. I said nothing. Silence unnerved her, and the more I withheld, the more she pushed. Finally, she raised her wine glass. The room tilted toward her, waiting. "We're ashamed of you." There it was. Her masterpiece. The line she'd probably rehearsed. The room laughed. Awkward, confused, but enough to feed her ego. She expected me to shrink, to fold, to play my part as her family disappointment. Instead, I stood. Slowly, calmly. I placed my napkin beside my plate like I was about to give a toast. "You know," I said, "I used to think the worst thing you could do to a child was ignore them." The room fell silent. Even the candles seemed to flicker differently. I looked right at her. But it turns out the worst thing you can do is pretend to love them while breaking them down for sport. Her smile froze, color draining from her cheeks. You've spent your entire life trying to look perfect, Mom. But perfection doesn't cry itself to sleep because its children don't visit anymore. It doesn't drink to stay numb. It doesn't need an audience to validate its worth. Ethan stared at his plate. Lily shifted like she wanted to disappear. Margaret's chin trembled. You said you were ashamed of me, I continued. But I stopped being ashamed of you a long time ago. A tear slid down her face, cutting through her foundation. Her facade cracked right down the center. She opened her mouth but nothing came out. Just a broken sound, barely a whisper. You wanted an audience, I said softly. Now you have one. I placed my napkin down, turned and walked out. She called that night. I didn't answer. She texted, you humiliated me. I didn't reply. 2 weeks later, Ethan messaged me. She won't stop crying. I deleted it. Not out of spite, but because the truth I told her wasn't cruelty. It was accountability, something she had avoided her entire life. Now every Christmas they still set a place for me, as if I might walk in. But I got my closure the night her mask shattered in front of the people she valued most. That was my gift to her. The truth she spent decades hiding from. And for the first time in my life, I wasn't the one ashamed. I didn't plan on becoming a ghost in my own family, but after that Christmas, silence became the only language that made sense. I stopped answering group chats. Stopped pretending we were the kind of family who wanted healing instead of hierarchy. And the funny thing, the quieter I became, the louder the truth echoed in that house. 3 months passed before anyone tried to reach out again. Ethan sent a voice note. His voice low, like he was afraid someone might overhear. Hannah, I think you were right. Mom's different. It's like she doesn't know who she is without controlling you. I listened twice. Not because I doubted him, but because hearing my golden brother finally question her felt surreal. I didn't reply. Not yet. Even Lily reached out. She never took sides growing up. She just survived by looking graceful and staying quiet. She texted me a photo of her engagement dress fitting, then wrote underneath, I really wish you were here. Things aren't the same. I stared at the message for a long time. Because deep down, for all the hurt, they weren't the villains. They were just conditioned, groomed to orbit around Margaret's approval like planets around a dying sun. But I still said nothing. Not out of spite, but because silence was finally working for me the way fear once worked for her. And then, of course, the message I expected but hoped wouldn't come. From Margaret. Her name lighting up my screen at 2:14 a.m. Mom, please. Talk to me. I didn't know it hurt you that much. I remember staring at those words in the dark, the glow of my phone lighting the ceiling. She didn't know. Because she never asked. She never wanted to know. Still, I didn't reply. Not yet. 1 week later, I got a call from Aunt Ruth. She didn't bother with greetings. Hannah, whatever you did that night, you broke her. I held the phone to my ear listening. Good, I said quietly. Not with malice, but with the same calm I had that Christmas night. Maybe now she can finally see herself. Because breaking the performance wasn't cruelty. It was truth stripped bare. And truth is the one thing Margaret Cole never prepared herself to face. A month later, I heard from Ethan again. Mom's in therapy, he said. She admitted some things. About you. About all of us. I exhaled, slow, steady. Not relief. Something deeper. Vindication. She'd spent her whole life polishing her image like silver. And in the end, the thing that finally forced her to take a hard look at herself was the daughter she tried so hard to diminish. I'm not sure when, if ever, I'll sit at that table again. But for now I know this. I didn't destroy my family. I just refused to be destroyed by it. And when I finally walked away, they didn't lose me. They lost the lie she built about me. The real me? I'm still here. And for once, I'm not ashamed of that at all.